so he's chasing us, but he's able to deal with that. Have you ever heard of A star? A star is pathing. Like Unity has nav mesh, right? And A star it also has nav mesh. You can use nav mesh. But I was playing with A star, and I thought, you know, I should probably do something for my little Playmaker community friends and fellows. So I thought I would. So I've kind of set up a couple scenes here, and I made an action, and normally I think I would probably just redo the custom action, but I decided I'll just copy the code and actually put it on GitHub. So I'll have that link in the description, or I'll have a pinned comment for it, one or the other. So anyways, here we have, and I'll show you how to set all this up step by step, but I just wanted to show you kind of how it looks. So this is using a grid pathing system. And as you see, I mean, does pathfinding just fine. There's no problems with it. I can actually go to this object. Oh, I don't have them on. Yeah, well, you'll see. So anyways, it's pathing though, right? And it works actually really well. It's extremely fast. I'm using the free version of it. But if you go to the asset store, you can get A star pathfinding, which is this. And there's the full version. I think it's like $100, but I mean, catch it on sale and it's fine. And the full version adds some more features and multiple threads and stuff like that. I'm gonna have to pick it up one of these days. So I'm just using the free version here. You can just go to the website and download it. It's free. It's insanely fast, even without multi-thread. It's faster than the nav mesh, I find anyways. So this is my little default scene, and if I look on our AI, there's a special pathing script. I'm not going to worry about that. So I built this action, and this is the action I'll put onto the GitHub. This, and then I made a little script here in case I want to communicate with this various other methods. So this just kind of holds the path. So this guy here, it's literally like you can give it a path, like a target, like I'm telling it to target this cube. But I can also, and you can tell it how fast to update, the distance of updating. But I could also use a target position. I can use a vector 3, or I can use that and use this as an offset to that, right? If I go like, oh, actually, am I using that? Yes, I am using that. Yeah, see how it's over here now? See, I can just by making an offset. So you can do a few extra little things with that. But you can also use 2D position or 2D target, and you can get a return value of the vector, which is which is the direction between him and his next spot. Which is why I'm using a translate, right? And you don't have to use a translate. I can get rid of that, and I could set velocity to it, or I can add velocity or something. There's a lot of different ways you can use this, right? If I go world, so he will need a rigid body. He now has one. Let's constrain his rotations so he doesn't flip around the map. But I mean, now he's using velocity, right? Just as easily, right? You know, he still has this offset. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so it's faster than nav mesh, and it works. I got this one little action that's pretty universal. You're thinking like, well, is it really worth it? I really think it is. For example, let's get rid of that. Actually, let's get rid of the plane. Let's get rid of the cube. And, well, yeah, well, I guess I should have showed you that first. Is you also have a script if you want to use that as well. So if okay, let me just back up here. Let's just bring some of that stuff back real quick. Right, so if I turn this script on, and in my script, I just flat out get rid of that action. Now I'm just telling it I have a target. Okay. It's now going to use the normal script, right? And again, as you can see, and the script controls it quite nicely. But I'm not telling it to actually move at all now. The script is doing it. And the script's got some kind of neat little features, right? Like you can adjust your speed, which I mean, you can do that here by multiplying the variable. You can control the rotation or not. All right. Now it's not doing rotation, you know, and now it's doing the rotation, right? Just like that. So that's cool. And then the other thing is it also has some of these things. You can tell it when to stop and when to start slowing down and when it needs to pick a new waypoint, right? And if you make that real big, it can make things smoother as you move around, but it causes you issues for the pathfinding part. So he's trying to cut through the wall there, right? And that's because of that size of that circle. So you don't want to run this part too far. You just want it, you know, it doesn't need to be huge, but big enough. See, now it runs a lot better. But he has that stopping distance, right? So you'll see, and I could probably expand that out some. All right, bring that slow down to, oh, let's try out there. And let's bring this out to there. All right, so now he's not trying to drive too far into him. And again, I could probably push that out a little farther. Right, so there's that, and it works. And so you could use this just to tell it what target to use, and you can give it game objects or positions. So that's cool, right? Because then you really, you don't really need anything else. I mean, other than behavior, I suppose. But let's get rid of this, and I'll show you something. And I'm going to get rid of all that. And I'm going to take this. This is our nav mesh. Actually, you know what? I'm going to make a whole new one. And I'm going to bring those up. I put a background to it just because I felt like seeing it. Right? So again, here I have just a few objects. There's nothing special about these. This is just a square with a collider. This is just... and I'll remake that one. That's a little AI. And then I put a circle here. Right now, I get rid of that plane. So I can now create an object. I just call it whatever you want. And I'm going to add component Pathfinder. I'm going to give it a graph. I'm going to use the grid graph. And I see this thing down here, and I can now open that up. I can say 2D, right? So you can go 3D or 2D, and this is really where this thing's cool, because now we're going outside the realm of what Unity can do in the ways of just with their nav mesh, right? So, right, you have these are going to be the nodes, that it's going to calculate. But if I want, I can make that, you know, higher resolution, real low resolution. You can do all sorts of different stuff with this. So let's go like 0.5, and then let's expand this out. All right, let's take him. Let's make sure he's on the Z. We don't want things to go crazy. Actually, probably just zero him right out. So I have this. I can say we're using 2D physics. Collision testing, we're not going to use height testing because we're in 2D. And, you know, scan. Simple as that. Now I have some squares here. Like this one is default, and I'm going to turn him to building. That's default. So that's the background, so I'm not going to worry about that one. And that's going to be our target, so I'm not going to worry about him. So we have this square called building, and I'll stretch him out, and maybe I'll move him one over here, spin it or something like that. And I can now say, all right, you know what? We're also using an obstacle layer is going to be building. Now, okay, let's scan. Now you have this. Now you might want to adjust these things, right? If they aren't quite fitting the way you want them, right? Because now I can, if I scan that again, okay, it fills it out. You can also let's cut corners. I actually don't like that one, but you can change this diameter. So this is kind of, I'll just show you. So if I say it's got a big diameter, it wants to keep the object around this range, not so close to it. So it's a really cool way to try to keep your AI from the walls. Like now, okay, 2, that's probably pretty good. Probably go a little less, but whatever, that's okay. We'll go with that. This is where you can change the threads and stuff. I don't have the pro version, so I can't do that stuff. Some debugging stuff, but that's it. It's baked. It's ready to run. That's all there is. So we have a circle, and this is going to be our target. So let's create a new object, and let's give this an FSM, and let's give this my path holder script. So you don't have to actually worry about anything on it. It just needs to have it. And let's get star path. And let's tell it to target that. Let's update something around there. Let's not worry about this stuff for now. And then let's also give it a path, AI path 2D, 3D. And we're going to tell it that we are 2D, right? And you know, are we going to use gravity or not? Like I'll say none for now, and that should be it. There we go. So now we have a circle in the 2D realm chasing this guy. And I'm gonna, you know what? Let's move his order layer up so we can actually see him. Right, but there he is. It works. It's literally just that easy, and it's super proficient. Like there's a lot of things in here you can do. I can batch graph updates, tell it to go for whatever cycle. So if I'm running, you know, several hundred AI, like we can batch them together and stuff, and it's really cool that way. But here we also have, you have this same idea if you're using these, where you have these. Okay, let's stop. Okay, let's bring him out so we can see where the hell he is. And let's say we're going to stop there, and we're going to slow down there, and we're going to pick up our next waypoint there. And you know, again, you can enable rotation or disable rotation. You might not want them. I mean, right now this is kind of more of a top-down view, obviously. Let's go 2D mode. right? There he goes. And if I up his speed, where's his speed? Let's crank that. Oh, that's super fast. Oh well, cool. Catch me if you can, a-hole. But yeah, we have some pretty solid AI pathing now all of a sudden. And I'll show you how, like I was using this system before, and this is how I used it. I am going to turn this 90. I'm going to pretend for now that this is a ground. Okay. There's a ground. And we're going to take our little AI guy, and we're going to put him down here. And we are now going to use, oh, yeah, I might as well leave that on everything. And he now needs a rigid body. Okay, let's give him a rigid body. He also is going to need a box collider, 2D. All right. So dynamic, let's keep gravity scale on, and let's give him a little more mass, maybe give him a tiny bit of drag, call it good. So now, he wants to try to go there. Well, he is going there apparently. Apparently we didn't stop him. But this is where I could now get rid of this and go into here, and we have our return vector like this. Right now, hitting play, he can't move because there's nothing actually driving him, but he can tell me which way he wants to go. And with that, if I normalize, let's normalize this vector. Normalize v every frame. Get vector to xy. So let's go v. Let's get the x. All right, now let's multiply. Let's do the x, multiply it by, we'll use our own speed variable, which we don't have yet, every frame, and let's let's add force, 2D. Not going to use set velocity or anything like that. I'm just going to add force. So we're going to keep it to force, and we're going to go on the x. And then we're also going to have one for the y. But right now I'm going to leave that as is. Okay, so we have speed. Let's stick that out here. Now obviously if it's 0, you really can't move. So now we have, he can't move, right? And if I start increasing this, and I'll probably have to go kind of far, you can see he wants to move. But he's only really moving sideways now. He wants to go up, right? He wants to go up, but he can't. And we did that on purpose because we want him as 2D, like platformer style. So if we now test that y, right? Float compare. I might almost want to do this in a different FSM, but we will see. And let's say 0.7. If it's greater than 0.7, actually, you know what? Let's do it this way. Let's do a conditional expression, because then I can keep it all in one state. So if y is greater than 0.7, that's it. Store is greater. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to bool convert to to float. Actually, no, because we have to do a grounding check. All right, so you know what? I will put that in another FSM. All right, so let's do a ground. And I am going to raycast 2D downwards. Self distance, we'll go 10 for now. Store did hit. Grounded, and we're going to use the layer mask of, we're just looking at, you know, our whatever that mask of our thing is. And I'll turn debug on so we can see where it is. Right, so I can see that ray not very well with against the white, but it is obviously way too long. So let's cut that down. Let's go 0.6, 0.65 we'll say. 0.65. All right, so that should give us if we're grounded or not, right? So it's false now, it should be true. It's true. Okay, cool, we're grounded. What's the other thing we could check at? This guy is on a layer default. I mean, I really should technically almost just go like this, layer enemy and invert it, so I can't hit myself. I can hit everything else, can't hit myself. Okay, so now we have grounding, and we're moving the guy, right? So, get vector 2 length. Actually, you know what? Let's take that out of here too. You know what? We can keep it like that, and then let's do a, let's separate that. Let's do a horizontal, and in the horizontal, let's get FSM float, which we'll get that from this FSM. We're going to get the X, we'll call it X, every frame. And the other thing we also want to get FSM vector 2, also from the FSM, that V, we'll call it V here. Now length, actually no, we don't even need to do that. Let's get velocity. Get velocity 2D. So if our velocity V, we'll call it V because we've already made the variable, why not? The length, and this just kind of tells you how fast it's going. It's kind of like getting speed. I suppose I could just use get speed. Float compare. So if speed is, say, I don't know, greater than, I don't know, 15, we're going too fast. This will help prevent some issues here. Move to the bottom. We're going too fast. We're just going to go over here, and we're going to get that, copy those, paste them, compare, paste it. Only now we'll use use less. So we're only adding force as long as our velocity isn't too high. All right, so we have our X. Now let's multiply and add force. So we're going to multiply the X by, I forget how much I was up to, and that's the X. All right, let's make sure that's working. All right, how fast is velocity? is getting, let's see, so we're at 15. Let's move our target, which is the circle. Right, so yeah, see how his speed's starting to get a little too fast there. So pretty much once he hits 5, I think. 5, I think, is probably fast enough. And then let's also let's give him material. Let's bring this up a bit. And I won't change his mass for now. So now we can yeah, okay, that's pretty good. So and you're probably wondering about that Y. So let's do a vertical. So get FSM float and get FSM bool. We're going to need those. So from the FSM we are going to get what is greater? Oh, that's the bool. Yeah, we need the Y. There we go. So we're going to get the Y. This one's coming from the grounded and is grounded. I'm not actually going to use this one in this state, but we need it. All right, so okay, now we're getting this, and we want to float compare. So if Y is greater than 0.8, we want to jump. So we're going to come over here. Now, this is where we need this. We need the bool, and we need a bool test. And we need to test is grounded. And if it's false, can't jump. And if it's true, can jump. Right? So if we can't jump, then let's set FSM float into the no, let's go into the horizontal. Oh, yeah, we're not even adding the force like that, are we? Yeah, well, that's fine. This should be okay. We're going to try to add force from 2 different FSMs, but we're doing it from different directions. So if we can't jump, we want to just next frame event. Try again next frame, I suppose. Go up here. But if we can jump, so we want to go up, and we're grounded. Let's add force. 2D. Only on the Y now. And, you know, let's add, 70. And that should be fine. I should do a next frame event. Or else we'll have an infinite loop. Right? And now we should have, hopefully it's not too much force on the Y, right? See, it's trying to hop towards me. It's not enough force. Right, so here we go. We come over here and he's, woo, ba-doo. So he wants to hop. Right, and if I turn this is kind of where this will show it a little better. Let's put an object here, another object like that. Let's go into our AI and change this force to something a little higher apparently. Actually, you know what, let's go like 300. And I'm gonna bring that up. And that up. So you know what, I'm probably going to drag this up even higher then. Well, no, we'll check it. But we're gonna have to bring this up. Oh, and he's turning. That's funny. Alright, so let's fix that real quick because we don't want him to be rotating. So freeze his rotation. Alright, so my circle. See, he wants to try to be jumping up there. He can't jump high enough though. So we need to up that force. Oh, he made it. Look at him. Look at him go. Oh, I'm so proud of him. Now let's go up to 500. Alright, so he's chasing us, but he's able to deal with that terrain and stuff, and he kind of deals with it properly. Now the amount I have him jumping might be a little much, right? So let's change that just a little, right? Let's go up to 0.9. I should have that. I'm pretty sure I normalized that value, so that should be right. Now he's sitting there trying to leap at us, right? Well, how's that for some platformer AI? Right, pretty cool, huh? And what else? Now, like I said, now in this guy, oh yeah, see, I did normalize that. Okay, I'm not crazy. So you could, for example, let's do this. Set this as the start state, and let's put this guy here, and let's give. I can do this in 3D. Let's see if we can do it in 2D. Let's do a trigger and size. Let's make it bigger. You know, something like that, right? And then here, trigger event 2D. And if we hit the player, let's chase. You know, and this is the player we're going to be chasing is that thing. There we go. So let's chase, go over to this state, and we're chasing that thing. All right, and I'm going to update this a little bit, push that out, and bring this guy down a little bit. And I'm going to make sure the circle has got that tag, and he needs a collider. And I should probably give him a rigid body just in case, but I'm going to mark this one as kinetic. So let's hit play. So now the AI can just sit there, and we take our little player and we bloop. Oh, and he's like, oh my god, there's something there, I'm going to kill you. Alright, so he's a little bit of an issue there, and that's going to be based on some physics stuff with this. Right, we're change that. Ground, and what does that ground have? It's got some friction to it. It can have a little bit of friction. It doesn't need any bounce. And what do we need here? I'm going to bring this up a little more. And I want to go to our nav, and I want to increase this diameter a little bit. Scan, see how it looks. A little more. Okay, that should be okay. So now he's got the player. What does the player have? Friction and ground. Let's bring that down. No. All right, let's fix that real quick. It's too dark outside. No. No, it's too late. On trigger exit. Go back. And let's up this. Let's go 550. All right, so there we have. Now we come trucking along, we enter in. Oh, he's got that issue. Gotta kind of smooth that out. Something to do with that hopping while he's pushed up against things. Yeah, how about I just do that, huh? Let's just give these things a little bit of an edge. That works. Yeah, he's not going to be able to do it over there. I was like, why'd he stop? I was like, oh yeah, right, he's got, if I leave that trigger, he stops chasing me. Gravity just, okay, well, you know, I suppose I probably could have set his velocity to 0 on the exit, but not that important. So anyways, there's that. Now I'll show you one more thing, and I'm going to show you one of the other cool things that this thing can do is called a point graph. So what is a point graph? So it looks a little complex, and first I will show you. I'll hit play. Same idea, AI chasing this target, and if I take this target, right, he comes in, and if I now take that target and move him up here, so we're dealing with 3D space, and apparently he doesn't want to do it now. Let's see. What is he doing? He's should be translating. Oh. Yeah. Okay, let's turn that off. I don't know why I had that on there. Right, so I take this guy. Let's move him up there. But now, yeah, so like we're in 3D space, and now granted, I mean, I set the nodes up like probably the best, but he is moving in a 3D space, right? Like that's, and it's a point graph, and they're, I think they're enhanced if you have the full version, but they're actually super easy to set up. I was actually really surprised on how effective they are and how easy they are, right? Like here's Let's go back to our AI, and I'm going to give him the path again. And I'm going to turn off my translate. We'll let him use this. Give him some speed. I'm just not going to use that. We'll stop. Slow down, new distance. So to make a point graph, right, I'm going to take this point, right, because we're at 0, and then I'm going to create another, I'm going to create a child, and I'm going to put that here, and I can create a path. And if I'm not using that 3D thing, I can also move in 3D space, right? Now, depending on how many you want to put these down and where you put them down, like it really gives a lot more control. Now, granted, it's also, I think, a little more work and, you know, a little harder to set up, probably. Oh, I guess I need to actually make a pathing system, don't I? So let's go graph, point graph, go into our graph, select this object that we made with a whole bunch of just random stuff to it, put it there, that's it, and I hit scan, and it connects all my points based on this distance, max distance, right? And if I think if I have it at 0, it automatically connects everything, which is fine. I mean, you can use that, or you can just up the distance and connect things and whatever. No, that's obviously way too short, right? And depending on how you do it. Now, those are his only options to move, right? He has to follow those paths. So it seems a lot more limited, I guess you could say. Performance wise, it runs, I believe, a way faster, but it's flexible. I mean, I don't think I'd want to do it if I'm trying to, you know, set up a goblin fight or some bloody thing. But if you were doing, you know, maybe you got a town and you want people walking around stores and doing stuff like that, making a little system off these points would be super effective. You know, and like I said, I mean, and that's, you know, and it's, I can just duplicate that, stuff it back in there, and tell this guy to scan, and now we have a 3-dimensional map, right? So there's some options. So that's ASAR, and like I said, I mean, if you go to their site, you can get their link through the asset store. It's free, it's totally free. You can get them, but there is some limitations. Like right now, I'm using the free version as we speak. So it has limitations, but even with those limitations, it's just an unreal pathing system, and it's super effective. Like, I have ran hundreds and hundreds of AIs with crazy good performance with it. Pretty easy to set up, and like I said, I've made this action to make life even easier for Playmaker users, and said I'll put this on my GitHub, and you have 2 vectors that you can get back to work with if you wish to do stuff for, you know, getting distances, telling if you want to jump, you know, getting that Y, and you can also, don't need to use a target, you can use vectors as well. You can alter all sorts of different things. And like I said, the AI also needs to have this FSM path holder that I made. It's got some logic in it that helps this system. So that is pathing, and said 2D top-down platformer 3D. That's super cool. I mean, nav mesh, Unity-based nav mesh can't do 2D at all. So this is a good option. So I just hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll talk to you later.